Good morning, Centre for Effective Living Community. It's Valerie Ling, clinical psychologist and the director of the practice. I'm standing out here in in the front of my house. Hopefully, my neighbours don't think that I've completely lost my senses. Standing out here with my own camera, talking to myself. Um, I wanted to touch base with you just to contextualize and give you a. Oh, my dog, he's being very naughty. Let me show you. While I'm standing outside, this is my study, and look at him. He's not meant to be in there. He's not allowed to be in my study, but obviously he's figured out that I'm outside. And okay, let me just put the. Right, okay, so got distracted there to talk to you about, what was I going to say? Yes, about our move. Now, this weekend I did a spot of gardening. Let me show you my front garden. In case you think that I'm someone who does a lot of gardening, I actually don't. This was probably the first time that I did some gardening, but look at this. Right, now these shrubs are usually very well sculpted, not by me, but by somebody else. And look at my beautiful tree here. When we first moved in, that tree was just a sapling, but it's really grown. And in the last couple of weeks, I've just been gazing at it and in awe as to how much this tree has actually grown. Now, in the spring, much like the cherry blossom tree, this tree actually has some beautiful white blossoms. And you know, I stare out at this very often from my study. Okay, let me just come back to life. Okay, so I'm gonna walk back inside now, just so people don't think that just talking to myself. So the reason why I showed you my tree and my garden, my front garden, that I very rarely nurture and tend to, is because it's a metaphor for what we are experiencing at the Centre for Effective Living. When I first started out at Wesley, it wasn't really in my scheme or my plan to grow a private practice. I was basically doing what I felt I needed to do. The family had moved from overseas. I was very happily settled in when we were living overseas in a hospital position. I was also doing some side business to the prisons as well, doing assessments and work for residents in prison. And when we returned to Sydney, I actually tried to get a public health job. Very hard. I tried very hard to work in the hospitals because I love working in hospitals. I love working with other disciplines. I love working in a setting where I'm learning from others and I'm taking the contributions from other people to work towards better mental health outcomes. However, I couldn't find a hospital that would have me. I'm not sure why. I tried very hard, but it just didn't work out. And so I landed up in this thing called private practice, not really understanding or knowing what that really meant. And I fell into private practice with a group of people who are fabulous. Till today, I have some really great relationships with them and had a lovely first experience of private practice. And I got to see what it was like to actually work in such a setting. Now, as life happens, your family grows, you move houses, you move suburbs. Well, that's certainly what happened to us. In the last few years, we've moved 3 times and you have to reassess where you're doing your work. And so Wesley was actually the product of such a transition. I wasn't looking and thinking to myself, whoa, Wesley, I'm really stoked about starting private practice there. Wesley is a suburb, a charming suburb. It doesn't have a train station. It doesn't really lead to anywhere. It is a suburb on its own. And we were very welcomed by the podiatrist, Julie, who, just thought someone's visiting me. The podiatrist who welcomed us in, she was starting up as well, and she had some space, and I started work there. And so since then, somehow or other, the work has grown. it's not just that we have more clients, but we also have more of a wider focus now in the practice. We have got different psychologists who have different interests. And of course, with myself, my growing interest and burden to help people who help others, whether you're a carer or a career carer, as I call it, wanting to actually be able to bring services that will support our therapeutic work. What's also really been on my mind is that when you work in private practice, very often you are on your own. It can be quite isolating, it can be quite lonely. You don't have a lot of chance to interact with others. So put all of those things together, I started to feel that we needed to move into a space that would allow us to work collaboratively together. And it would also provide us with the space to build services to support a more holistic practice. So our move to Gordon not only represents a move towards more space, it actually also represents a move towards working more collaboratively as a team and bringing on more services to the practice. So you will be hearing a lot more from me as I take you on the journey of our move. Today, this afternoon, I'm actually meeting the psychologist at Gordon this evening, and I'm actually installing some of the furniture. So I'm hoping to actually send some photos or do a video on that. All right, I'll chat with you soon.